Hello and welcome to the Sub1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and in this video, SpotMicro Part 22, we're going to do an upgrade to the operating system. So in Part 21, I replaced the servos with high voltage servos. I've now got Spot's primary supply power running at 7.4 volts. The servos are rated up to 8.4, I think it is. I'll just confirm that. Yeah, 8.4 volts. So I'm still pretty safe with the voltage levels. But the last time I worked on Spot's program, my Robot Lab 1.1.822 was the one I was using. So today we're going to install the latest and greatest, which I think is 1.1.1041. So let's go to www.myrobotlab.org. And we've got a new mini in-mover's being built up. But what I'm wanting to do here is go to the menu and download today. This will take us to the GitHub page. And 1041 Nixie is now out. There's been a lot of work in the last few days on this, so let's download the build. And it's there. Okay, so this is saved to my Robot Lab with a 1 in brackets. I don't need this web browser open at the moment, so I'm going to close it. Now in my downloads folder, this one here, I'm going to rename so I can keep track of the version. 1.1.1041. And I'm going to extract it all. Okay, so the 3 files I'm expecting. The jar is actually the MyRobotLab files. It's a Java container. BAT is for myrobotlab.bat is for the Windows versions, and myrobotlab.sh or shell script is for Linux and Mac. Alright, let's go back to download. I just want to rename this a little bit so it's easier for me to type it in down the track. And I will cut this, go to high and paste it. Alright, so launching a terminal window, CD MRL 1.1.101. Now, some of the shortcuts I use when I'm typing these in, so in this case, myrobotlab dot, I just use tab to auto-complete the line, and then I type in sh. So when you're executing a shell script like this from a directory, the // tells it to look in the current directory you're in. Otherwise, it won't look there when you're trying to execute something. It'll look down just your recorded path as where all your files are. And then I tell it the name of the file I want to execute. And this will take a little bit of time to install, so I am going to accelerate this install process on video, so you don't have to wait as long as I am. Okay, so that seemed to take a very long time. That was over an hour to do this upgrade. It looked like it installed nearly every component from scratch. For those of you unfamiliar with My Robot Lab, when you install My Robot Lab the first time, it does take over an hour on a Raspberry Pi 4 to install. Once it's installed once though, if you do a subsequent install, it actually carries a cache of all of the components that were downloaded in the .iv cache. And I can actually show you that. So on the Raspberry Pi, there's .iv2 and there's a cache there. That way it only has to download all the files once. When you install a new version, it will check this cache first. If the version it's looking for is newer, it will download the new version and replace the old one. Otherwise, it will take it from your MicroSD card, which is the hard drive essentially on a Raspberry Pi. And that makes the installation so much faster. As Greg Perry, the head developer, has quite often said, on first install it will download the internet, and that does take time. So there have been a lot of updates because it's downloaded, well, essentially the internet on this install. Alright, so now that I've got this up and going, I can actually access this from another computer. For now, what I'll do is I'll expand out the Chrome browser. Now, running Chrome on a Raspberry Pi 4 does consume quite a lot of resources, and we are wanting to use this for our robot. And My Robot Lab is going to use some resources while doing that. So normally I would open this up from a web browser on another computer rather than through VNC as I'm doing at the moment. But let's start setting up some of the services we're going to need. Now, one of the major differences with My Robot Lab since version 8.2.2 is we now have the configuration files operating. So we're going to have to set up all that configuration for our system, and I'll try and make a setup eventually to do an automatic install, but that will be some time away. Now, the first component I'm going to need is the Raspberry Pi service. So we'll start that. The Raspberry Pi service, I don't believe this GPIO controller is working yet, but more importantly, it does have access to the I2C bus, and that's what we'll be using. So on the I2C bus, 68 is going to be the MPU 6050, 27 is the 2-line LCD display on the back, 70 is the broadcast address for the PCA 9685s, and then 40 and 41 are the two PCA 9685s that we have installed. Now I'm only using one of these two at the moment. The other one may be used for LED driving, or it may be used for a robot arm to be attached to the top. I've installed it for now, trying to plan ahead a little bit in the future. Trying to shoehorn it in later might be a bit harder. So now we have the Raspberry Pi. Let's get our first PCA in. PCA back. And in my robot lab is the Adafruit 16C servo driver. Because I do have it, I will set up the PCA front. Scroll front. Alright, so let's go to the back one first. It's on address 40, bus 1. Now, just a reminder, if you're ever connecting one of these via an Arduino of any type, you'll be wanting bus 0. The controller we're using in this case is Raspberry Pi, so we will attach that. PCA front, again, this time we're using address 41, bus 1, and the Raspberry Pi, and attach. So that's both our PCAs set up. Back to runtime, we have the MPU, which I do it in lowercase. So MPU 6050. Right, bus 1, address 68. Controller is the Raspberry Pi. I'm not going to start that at this stage. I'll do that at a later date. Runtime. So the next one I need is a PCF 8574. Now this is the I2C component. It's a I/O extender, I2C based I/O extender, which is used by the LCD display. So we'll start that service. Click on it. In this case, it's on 27, bus 1, the Raspberry Pi, and we will attach. Back to runtime, LCD, HD 44780 is the actual driver chip on the 2-line display. We go to it, we can set our controller as the PCF and attach. Backlight controls working. And I've still got some bugs in that service. I'll have to hunt that down again. I'm not sure what's going on there. Alright, so we have quite a lot of servos to set up now. So we're going to have front, left, and we're going to have wrist. This is the servo. Start the service. Front, left, arm, servo, and front, left. shoulder. Servo. Start. Now, the front left, let me just bring up my overlay. All right, so looking at this one, there's my front left shoulder. These are the wires, servo wires from the front left, and they are connected onto these pins up the end here. I'll just be one of these floating around, it's not installed. There we go. Right, so this one's not installed, so it's easier to see it. If I bring this up, the autofocus is not working today. Bring my focus control up. And there we go. So this is connected to pins 12, 13 and 14. So the longest wire is coming from the shoulder and it's connected to 13. So let's start with our shoulder. We'll go to control. We'll select pin 13. We will select the PCA front. And we will attach. So now in theory, I have got no movement there whatsoever. Okay, it seems that I made a mistake. In the control, I actually set PCA front instead of PCA back, and all my servos are connected to the back PCA 9685. So I also connected to pin 13 instead of 12. So now I've got it connected to pin 12 and the back. It all works. The way I diagnosed this problem, because I completely overlooked the fact that I was looking at the wrong one, is I connected up a logic analyzer, and I was able to capture exactly what was going on with my signaling. So this is the results from my last scan, and if I zoom in, we can see we've got a right through. So when you look at the addressing, we want 40 for our read, and I think they actually set the bit for right being 80. In any case, it really doesn't do a lot for us, that one. So where's my scroll bar? Not too far. So this one here is where we actually write to the correct unit. We tell which register we want to write. We're going to be writing incrementally. So we write to registers 36, 37, 38, 39. So we're turning on the PWM pulse starting at count 0 and turning it off at this count. Now remember, these numbers that we're looking at are in hex, and this is a 16-bit number, sent us 2 bytes. And as soon as that has gone through, we see this channel, which is actually, that one's pin 11. This one here is actually pin 12. And the remainder is 13, 14, etc. This is labeled from when I was diagnosing the LCD display a while back. When we look at this, we can see we've got a period of 14.47 milliseconds with a width of 1.332 milliseconds. So this is not quite centered. And you can see here we're now getting regular pulses. That period is reasonably quick, so it's running faster than I would have expected. I was expecting a 20 millisecond period. So it's running closer to 70 Hertz. But yeah, that's working. These servos will run up to 330 Hertz. So that's not too bad. What I found when I was running my diagnosis is it was looking at the wrong address. And so that's what made me look at which PCA I was looking at. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. And I maneuver this around. So this is the shoulder we're looking at, and we can see now that I can move the shoulder. And before I start setting that up too far, let's look at the arm. Go to control, we will set pin 13, and the back PCA, we will attach that. And set its position. So for the moment, I just want it all the way as far down as I can get it. You can actually see it's moving there. Not as smooth as I would like for a servo. Go to the wrist, go to control. So this one will be 14. Again, the back, PCA, and attach. And this is the wrist. I really don't want it to go any further than that, so what we're going to do, that's currently at 9 degrees. So we're going to move this off minimum and bring it back up to 9. And that seems to be working all right now. Now we're going to have to repeat that for all of the servos. And then we can go into this drop-down list at the very top. And we can save the service. And I might save default as well. Let's have a look at this one. Oops. That's That's about as far as I think we really want to go. So let's set our max down to there. And for our other end, I think about there. So let's set our minimum. And that's good. Now I will have to play with the inputs for the angles, etc. I am going to have to consider how these are going to be configured because I've still got to update the program to actually talk to them. I've better look at the arm, show my limits. That looks alright. And that looks alright. I'm not going to touch anything on those limits. Rest, I think I might adjust though. What I might do is go to rest, set it all the way up. We'll set that as our rest position. So whenever we hit rest, that's where it will go. Go back to the arm. Just going to turn this robot on its side a little bit for people to see. So you can see the, let's have a look at that wrist again. So might be a little bit too, might just adjust that up a little bit more. The limits are working. Displays are not 100%. I might have to bring that up with the My Robot Lab guys. This needs a little bit more fine. That's better. Needs a bit more fine tuning. So now we can go to there, hit rest. Perfect. So what we want is that basically being level and flat for the arm. And while it's close, it's not quite there. That looks pretty good. So we will set our rest for that one to 117. So when we hit rest, that's where it goes. And for our shoulder, we want it about where it is. Let's have a look at it from the end. So you can see here, what I do here. Sitting on the switch. I'm just going to set something under that to stop it from turning that switch off. There we go. So we want that reasonably level, like so, which is the default position. So I'm going to leave that where it is, so we can turn off our limits now. But what we can do is, again, save the service, and I'm going to save it as default. Save the service and save it as default. I'm not sure what the difference is there, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now all I have to do is repeat that for all the other legs. And then we'll look at the program in the next video. So I'm going to go back through, I'll look at the program and work out what I need to do to change it to work with the new version. And I'll see you in the next video and show you what I've done. If you like these videos, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. It's a form of support that helps the channel a great deal and costs you absolutely nothing. If you'd like to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon account, and there will be a link in the description, and you can join my long-term Patreons, VIPs Go Lucky and Lawrence Berger, as well as my builder patron Elmos45, who have been supporters of this channel for well over a year now. I also have a Discord channel, and I have a channel just for this SpotMicro project, so if you've got any questions, by all means drop in, join the community. Remember, if you have a question, someone else probably has as well, so ask a question in the chat and I will be quite happy to answer all the questions that I can. And we'll see you in the next video.